many ways that Mars can learn responsibility, because it may not want to fail. It may not want to Mars. Saturn inhibits the Mars. You can't do this right now. You got to slow down. You're not good enough to do this. You got to wait. You got to be prepared. You got to plan. Dad's here. The law is there. The boss is there. I can't do this right now. It's all the limits that come onto the Mars, and they're frustrating. But they create discipline and restraint on just energy. Energy for energy's sake, just to blow out energy, can be really dangerous and violent. Some restraint can allow for discipline. So there's people who have a very strong sense of restraint and discipline and defense around their energy. They're going to be not so pushy. They'll be guarded, controlled, a little more. Saturn will make Mars more patient. But in sports, might make them more defensive than aggressive. In some sports, that's a really handicap. In other sports, it could be a great advantage. So if someone has Saturn conjunct, square, or opposed their Mars, they're going to run into the need for discipline. They're going to have difficulty with their father. They're going to fight with their father because the father's going to have to impose discipline. They're not going to want it. They have to do it. They have to learn it. It's supposed to be learned from the father, so it's good. It's healthy that battle tells out. No, you can't go. No, not till you've done the homework. Not till you've cleaned up done your chores or whatever. There's rules. That's a Saturn. If Mars takes care of the rules first and is disciplined first and does this regularly as a habit, it builds up, and when it needs its freedom, it's happy for it. If it doesn't build up, if there is no discipline around one's desires, like all of the kids in North America that have gone into school and shot up and killed people in the school, they were able to get hold of a gun. If they were angry, they went and tried to shoot everybody they could. The one common factor between all of these kids is they didn't have a father around. No sense of responsibility or judgment. No one saying these are the rules. It's not fair. There's no father there. Who cares? That guy thinks he's in charge. I'll shoot him. That teacher was mean to me. These people were mean to me. So there can be a great anger. And I wouldn't say that total extremity would just be caused by it, but the influence of Saturn to Mars, having power without discipline is like having guns without restraint. It's like, but it's not, I've gone off into a more darker side. I didn't mean to go that far. Because Mars just simple. I want to do this, I want to do that. Oh, but I got to take care of this first. So it's the person's going to be responsible or feel weighted down by parents and not have the freedom to do everything that everyone else seems to be able to do when you're growing up. It can still be competitive, but there's going to be a seriousness to it. So they'll be affected by authority. Authority will always be disciplinary and somewhat restrictive of the Mars. But at the same time, they'll learn discipline from that, or hopefully they will. And if Jupiter aligns to be able to explain it and put it in good perspective, then you have a very healthy, socially functional person. But when it's not, there's the blow up. But Saturn is the Girl Guide Boy Scout motto of be prepared. You could do anything. Just be prepared. Get in shape. Take the time. Work at it for a few years. Get good at it before you go out there right away. You can't have a car till you're 18. What do you mean 18? I should have it at 16. Like, these fights are there. Well, if you pass your school, if you accomplish these things, then maybe. Working to achieve something, that's Mars to Saturn. When there's a conjunction, square, or position, there's a stress there. If you're not achieving, you're going to have people on your case. If you're achieving, there'll still be people threatened by you, and you're having to prove yourself. So the Mars will push and the Saturn will push. The Saturn is being the sort of not good enough, not good, do more, be more serious. Mars is saying, oh, I got to get out of this job. I got to do this, but I got to prove this first. I got to do this first. So the Mars can either take off or go with it. If the Mars runs away from responsibility, there's a lot of trouble. It can take years to turn that around. So your relationship, first you run your strength into your parents, your body, your parents. Then you're going to run across your school teachers. Kindergarten teachers are the first ones to get the madness. But if you don't learn something from your parents, you're going to act it out and be misbehaving against authority in school. If you don't deal with it in school, it's going to end up being having to running into it with the law, or with your boss, or with the law, or with other types of authority. So no matter what you do, you're going to run into authority, discipline, how much energy. If you don't have time to run it, if you're late coming into work every day, you're rushing to get in, there's Mars. Saturn says you're late. It's going to impair what you can accomplish. If you get into it and you get the right habits, or thinking right, have the right values, this can work. But they're going to be serious. We're trying to be with someone with Mars and Saturn. They're going to be serious about control. So if you're trying to relate to them, man or woman, they're not going to be told, want to be told what to do. It'll be depressing. I have to do this. I have to. No, I don't want to do this. You mean I have to do that? They're going to be either bossy or over serious with whoever's around them. What are we going to do? No, not this. We have to do this. I'm working too hard and do it. Like, you have the serious factor. But the restraint on Mars creates muscles and discipline. That discipline is a really useful tool for long-term accomplishments. But it's not easy. Fighting limitations. That's Mars to Saturn. Everyone has limitations. We all have Saturn. We all have Mars. But when it's stressful, there's extra work that has to be done to fight these limitations. And for me, I grew up being afraid of my father because he would knock us around. Even for the slightest little thing we do, bam, I get knocked around. When I got to school, every year in school, I got strapped by a teacher for some stupid little thing that shouldn't have just required physical force. And yet I got strapped, so I had a fear of any person in authority. I have Mars, Jupiter, Mercury conjunct with Saturn squares it. Pluto too, so it piles up. But the Saturn there is, it takes time. Like, I have to prove something before an authority figure will see me well. I have to accomplish things, but until I've done that, I'm put down. I'm feeling really restricted by it. You know, like, I'm driving the car. If I speed a little bit, cop car is going to show up. I'm going to have to run into this. I've learned to slow down a bit. You know, or I drive a little bit fast, but not fast enough to get points. So I push, but there's limits. This can come out to physical muscle tone with Saturn. The Saturn conjunct square post depends which one's the stronger. Mars will push to break the bones. Saturn will resist to weaken the muscles. And Jupiter's trying to get them to work together. Understand, let's put this together. So in Jupiter, your understanding is aligned to responsibility. When you understand the value of what your dad had to do or what the teachers had to do to get you to learn, and you have the right understanding of it, it becomes much easier for you to be efficient and work with others. If you have a negative understanding of that responsibility, Saturn, and it hits your Mars, it's much easier to disassociate and fight against the system. So the Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, they kind of work together. So suppose you got to almost see what Mars is doing, what understanding is there, what Saturn is there, to see how you socially put out, what you're going to do, how it goes out. And then that's the outer world. And at the same time, the inside world, the Moon, Mercury, Venus is inside of that. So you can see what someone's doing at work, but you may not know how happy or unhappy they are at home. And yet they may be totally related to each other. So often Mars is your career, what you're doing. But before you have your kids, it's not about, it's partly career, but it's about what you're doing and where it's going to lead you. I'd like to spend a lot more time on that, but we keep coming around each level, getting a little bit more about it. Some of this you got to just think that you get impressions. I may say something and it's a nerve and something, you say, oh, that's that. But I can't remember to say all of these things at the same time, just kind of pointing to how the energy works with each other. It's enough. You don't have to make the aspects huge demons. The aspects will be there. Even if you're working both planets perfectly, the aspect with the stress will still be there. but it will be managed. So the key point I'm making is avoiding stress. You have a certain level of stress that you're normal. That's how it's supposed to work for you. Don't be afraid of your stress factors. Use them. You know that other people don't have the same stress factors, so what? It's enough to deal with your own. You know, that's easy to say until you're living together or have a kid and both of you are trying to decide what you want for the kid. And then you might come to different odds as the kid's trying to push everything. Like I said, this gets complicated. But now, when we get to the outer planets, Saturn's your discipline. Saturn's your sense of responsibility. You know, I'm going to work towards this. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to work at this. I'm going to do this. That's the Mars working towards the Saturn. The understanding, yes, this is the right thing to do. Okay, I'm going to achieve this. It's going to take me 10 years. Okay, I'll get that. That could be staying in the same job till you got your pension or get the promotion. That could be building up different skills, different things. So many different choices. Venus, so many different possibilities of how to act on the Mars. So many ways to expand that Jupiter. So many expansions that have to be toned down a little bit, Saturn. In the end, if you work with Saturn, you're taking care of the big, if you're going to clean a house, you got a whole messy house, and you got to go clean it. The place has been ruined, and you're having to renovate it and whatever. Go to the worst place first and get it done, the worst done first. And from then on, everything gets better. If you do the easiest first, it's only going to get harder and harder and harder until you get to the end. Interesting movie about Mars and understanding around it. It's an old movie with Paul Newman. Cool Hand Luke. Anyways, I just mentioned it. It's just, he's in prison, he's arrested, but he gets the whole chain gang, instead of just slugging away, to make a competition and do 10 times more than the chain gang would. And the guards are being freaked out because they're doing it in a positive way. Anyway, it's a great movie for that. Fighting the authority, but not hurting, going with the energy instead of fighting against it. So you can put out energy, you can take it back. You cannot get experiences. That's a negative Mars. Sometimes that negative Mars, the not experience, can allow you to develop inner qualities that can be very useful. Some experiences aren't worth going towards. And Jupiter and Venus should figure out, I don't want this as Venus. I don't think this is right as Jupiter. What if what you want to do isn't right, but it's what you want, like the neighbor's husband or wife? You know, like, oh my goodness, the Jupiter saying this is trouble because we're both attracted to each other. The Saturn says this is not worth it. It's better to back off and impose some limitations on there so this doesn't get into bigger trouble. Does the Venus list? Does the wisdom hold strong? Or are you strong enough to have the courage to say no? Whew. But from that, experiences build up. Anything we do build up, and they can affect the years of our life.